Jean-Paul Sartre believes that the deepest ethical failure of human life is not cruelty, selfishness, or disobedience. It is bad faith. Bad faith is not a mistake about the world. It is a mistake about oneself. More precisely, it is the attempt to flee one's own freedom while continuing to act as if one were free. This makes bad faith a unique form of self-deception. Unlike ordinary lying, bad faith does not involve ignorance. One does not deceive oneself because one lacks information. One deceives oneself because the truth is unbearable. Sartre insists that bad faith is possible only because consciousness is divided, capable of both knowing and not wanting to know at the same time. This division is not pathological, it is structural. Human consciousness for Sartre is both factical and transcendent. It is shaped by situation, history, and circumstance, yet it is never reducible to them. Bad faith arises when one tries to collapse this tension by identifying entirely with one side. One form of bad faith is the denial of transcendence. Here, the individual treats themselves as a thing, a fixed identity, role, or character. I'm just not that kind of person. That's how I was raised. I had no choice. These statements present facticity as destiny. In doing so, the individual pretends that their actions are dictated rather than chosen. Responsibility dissolves into description. One becomes an object among objects. Sartre's famous example of the waiter illustrates this move. The waiter performs his role with exaggerated precision, as if he is nothing but a waiter. His gestures, tone, and posture suggest that the role defines him entirely. Sartre does not accuse the waiter of insincerity. He accuses him of over-identification. By acting as if the role exhausts his being, the waiter denies his freedom to be otherwise. He treats himself as a function rather than a project. The opposite form of bad faith denies facticity. Here, the individual treats freedom as unlimited, ignoring the constraints of situation. They insist that nothing binds them, that they are always free to redefine themselves without consequence. This form of bad faith appears optimistic, even heroic, but Sartre considers it equally dishonest. To deny facticity is to refuse the seriousness of the world. It turns freedom into fantasy. Most people oscillate between these two forms. They deny freedom when it burdens them and deny constraint when it limits them. Sartre insists that this oscillation is not hypocrisy. It is an attempt to escape the tension that defines existence. Bad faith is therefore not a rare failure. It is the default condition of human life. Why? Because freedom is heavy. To acknowledge freedom fully is to accept responsibility without excuse. It is to act without guarantees. It is to accept that one's actions define not only oneself, but the world one inhabits. This weight produces anxiety, and anxiety produces evasion. Bad faith offers relief. It allows one to act while denying authorship. One follows rules, plays roles, cites necessity, or appeals to character. Life becomes easier when responsibility appears elsewhere. But Sartre insists that bad faith never fully succeeds. The lie is unstable. One cannot entirely forget one's freedom. The individual in bad faith knows at some level that they are evading responsibility. This knowledge produces tension, guilt, and self-contradiction. This is why bad faith requires constant maintenance. One must continually reaffirm the lie. Roles must be exaggerated. Excuses must be repeated. Justifications must be rehearsed. The moment one relaxes, freedom reappears. Sartre insists that bad faith is not unconscious. It is pre-reflective. One does not articulate the lie explicitly, but one lives it. The awareness of freedom is dimmed, not erased. This dimming explains why people can feel both constrained and responsible at the same time. They blame circumstances while secretly judging themselves. They resent others while knowing they have chosen their stance. Bad faith, therefore, produces a distinctive form of discomfort. It is not moral guilt in the traditional sense. It is existential unease. the sense that one is not fully honest with oneself. Sartre believes that much of social life is organized to support bad faith. Institutions, roles, and norms offer ready-made identities. They allow individuals to act without confronting the openness of their situation. Society rewards predictability and punishes lucidity. This does not mean bad faith is imposed, it means it is facilitated. At this stage, Sartre's analysis is still diagnostic. He is not yet telling us how to live. He is explaining why authenticity is so rare and why self-deception feels so natural. Authenticity, Sartre insists, cannot simply be the opposite of bad faith. It cannot mean total transparency or constant self-awareness. Consciousness does not work that way. Authenticity must be something more subtle. To understand authenticity, one must first see why bad faith is so tempting and why it cannot finally succeed. If bad faith is the attempt to flee freedom by lying to oneself, then authenticity cannot be a simple attitude or moral achievement. Sartre is explicit on this point. Authenticity is not a personality trait, a stable state, or a badge of moral superiority. It is a way of relating to one's own freedom without evasion. This makes authenticity fragile. Unlike moral virtues that can be cultivated and secured, authenticity must be renewed constantly. It has no final form. One can act authentically in one situation and fall into bad faith in the next. Sartre refuses to offer authenticity as a solution because solutions promise stability. Authenticity offers none. At its core, authenticity is the refusal of alibis. It is the willingness to see oneself as both factical and transcendent at the same time, shaped by circumstance, yet never exhausted by it. Authenticity holds these dimensions together without collapsing into either. This holding is not theoretical, it is lived. To act authentically is not to act correctly. It is to act while acknowledging that one is choosing, that one could choose otherwise, and that no rule or identity can absolve the choice. Authenticity does not protect one from error. It exposes one to it. This is why Sartre insists that authenticity cannot eliminate anxiety. Anxiety is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that freedom is being recognized. Bad faith seeks to eliminate anxiety by denying freedom. Authenticity accepts anxiety as the cost of lucidity. This acceptance distinguishes authenticity from moralism. Moralism offers certainty. Authenticity offers exposure. Sartre also insists that authenticity does not require heroic rebellion or dramatic self-expression. It can appear in the most ordinary situations. Choosing honestly within constraints is as authentic as defying them. What matters is not the content of the action, but the relationship to one's freedom. This is why Sartre rejects the idea that authenticity is about being true to oneself. There is no fixed self to be true to. The self is a project, constantly in the making. To appeal to a true self is already to slide into bad faith. Authenticity, therefore, involves a paradox. One must acknowledge that one is never complete, never settled, never fully defined, and yet one must still act. One cannot wait to become authentic before acting. One becomes authentic only in acting. Sartre also denies that authenticity guarantees moral goodness. An authentic person can act cruelly, destructively, or disastrously. Authenticity does not sanctify outcomes, it preserves responsibility. This refusal to moralize authenticity is deliberate. Sartre wants to prevent authenticity from becoming another alibi. If authenticity guaranteed goodness, one could hide behind it. Sartre denies this refuge. What authenticity does provide is coherence. An authentic action is one in which the agent does not disown what they are doing. They do not pretend that necessity compelled them or that identity dictated their choice. They accept the meaning of their action, even when that meaning is painful. This acceptance is what distinguishes authenticity from resignation. Resignation denies freedom by claiming inevitability. Authenticity acknowledges limits while refusing to treat them as destiny. Authenticity also differs from sincerity. One can be sincerely mistaken. One can sincerely follow a role. Sincerity may involve honesty of feeling, but it does not guarantee honesty about freedom. Sartre, therefore, treats sincerity with suspicion. It can function as a deeper form of bad faith. This is one of Sartre's most unsettling claims. People often believe that sincerity absolves them. Sartre denies this. What matters is not whether one feels honest, but whether one acknowledges one's agency. Authenticity, therefore, requires lucidity rather than purity. It requires seeing oneself clearly as both constrained and responsible. This lucidity does not produce peace. It produces seriousness. One becomes aware that one's actions matter, that they define a world, and that one cannot escape their implications. Sartre believes that most people resist authenticity because it offers no reward. There is no recognition, no security, and no final justification. Authenticity does not make life easier, it makes it heavier. But Sartre insists that without authenticity, freedom collapses into performance. One acts without ownership, lives without authorship, and speaks without commitment. Bad faith may feel easier, but it hollows existence. Authenticity preserves dignity precisely because it refuses consolation. By the end of this analysis, the contrast should be clear. Bad faith offers relief at the cost of freedom. Authenticity preserves freedom at the cost of comfort. Sartre does not command authenticity. He exposes the choice between them. One cannot be forced to live authentically. To try to force authenticity would be another form of bad faith. One can only choose it and choose it again and again without guarantee. That choice is never final. And that, for Sartre, is what it means to live as a free human being.